Celebrities in a nutshell.
The Carpenters, Melodies of Harmony and Heart. Welcome to Celebrities in a Nutshell. Today, we take a look at a duo whose music defined the 1970s with their smooth harmonies and timeless melodies, the Carpenters. With Karen's angelic voice and Richard's genius as a composer and arranger, the Carpenters created a sound that was uniquely their own. But behind the music, there was also a story of struggle and heartbreak. Join us as we dive deep into the rise of the Carpenters, the challenges they faced, and their legacy as one of the greatest pop acts of all time. The story of the Carpenters begins in Downey, California, where siblings Richard and Karen Carpenter grew up. Richard, born in 1946, showed an early interest in music, particularly the piano. Karen, born 3 years later in 1950, initially showed more interest in sports. But as fate would have it, music would soon become a shared passion for the siblings. Richard's talent as a pianist and composer was evident from a young age, while Karen discovered her love for drumming in high school. In the late 1960s, the two formed a jazz trio with a friend, but it soon became clear that Karen's voice, rich, warm, and emotive, was too special to be confined to the background. The Richard Carpenter Trio had some success, even winning a Battle of the Bands competition at the Hollywood Bowl. But it wasn't until they shifted their focus to pop music that they found their true sound. In 1969, they signed with A&M Records, and that's when everything changed. In 1970, the Carpenters released their breakthrough album Close to You, featuring 2 songs that would become instant classics. They Long to Be, Close to You, and We've Only Just Begun. Both tracks were major hits, with Close to You reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and staying there for 4 weeks. Their smooth, melodic sound, driven by Karen's pure voice and Richard's lush arrangements, was a stark contrast to the hard rock and psychedelic music of the era. But that's exactly what made the Carpenters stand out. Their music appealed to a wide audience, from teenagers to parents, and quickly made them one of the biggest pop acts of the 1970s. Despite their rapid rise to fame, Karen and Richard remained humble and dedicated to their craft. They weren't interested in the wild lifestyles that some of their contemporaries embraced. Instead, they focused on creating music that moved people. One of the defining features of the Carpenters' music was their meticulous attention to detail. Richard, who handled much of the production and arrangement, had a gift for creating lush, orchestral pop that was both sophisticated and accessible. He drew inspiration from jazz, classical music, and the harmonies of 1960s vocal groups like the Beach Boys. Karen's voice was the perfect complement to Richard's arrangements. Her contralto vocal range was rich and warm, yet she sang with a vulnerability that made every lyric feel deeply personal. Whether it was the melancholy of Rainy Days and Mondays or the longing in Superstar, Karen's vocals had a way of connecting with listeners on a profound emotional level. Many of their peers, including legends like Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Burt Bacharach, have praised Karen as one of the greatest vocalists of all time. Her voice was timeless, and even today, it continues to resonate with listeners around the world. Throughout the 1970s, the Carpenters released a string of iconic albums, including A Song for You, 1972, Now and Then, 1973, and Horizon, 1975. Each album produced hit after hit, from the upbeat Top of the World to the heart-wrenching ballad Superstar. But perhaps one of their most beloved songs is Yesterday Once More, a nostalgic look back at the music of the past, which became an anthem for fans who cherished the warm, comforting sound of the Carpenters. Their success wasn't just limited to the United States. The Carpenters became international superstars, touring the world and winning over audiences with their flawless harmonies and polished performances. By the mid-1970s, they had sold millions of records and earned multiple Grammy Awards. Despite their massive success, life wasn't always easy for the Carpenters, particularly for Karen. By the late 1970s, it became clear that Karen was struggling with her health. Behind the scenes, she was fighting a battle with anorexia nervosa, a condition that was not well understood at the time. The pressures of fame, combined with the relentless touring schedule and her desire for perfection, took a toll on Karen's mental and physical health. She became increasingly obsessed with her weight and appearance, and despite her family's efforts to help, her condition worsened. In 1982, Karen sought treatment for her anorexia, and for a time, it seemed like she was on the road to recovery. She even began recording new music, excited about the future. But tragically, her heart had been weakened by years of severe malnutrition. On February 4, 1983, Karen Carpenter passed away from heart failure related to her battle with anorexia. She was only 32 years old. Her death shocked the world and brought attention to the seriousness of eating disorders, which had largely been misunderstood or ignored up until that point. Karen's passing left a void not only in the music world but in the lives of millions of fans who had found comfort in her voice. The outpouring of tributes from fellow musicians was immense, with many acknowledging her as one of the most gifted vocalists of her generation. After Karen's passing, Richard Carpenter continued to work in music, releasing solo albums and overseeing various reissues and compilations of the Carpenters' music. While he no longer performed with the same frequency, Richard remained dedicated to preserving the legacy of the duo he had formed with his sister. The Carpenters' music has endured through the decades, influencing countless artists across genres. From pop to indie rock, their songs have been covered by everyone from Sonic Youth to Sheryl Crow, proving that their appeal transcends generations and musical styles. In recognition of their contributions to music, the Carpenters have been honored with numerous awards, including multiple Grammy Awards and an induction into the Grammy Hall of Fame. But perhaps their greatest legacy is the emotional connection they forged with listeners. Their music continues to bring comfort and joy to fans, old and new. The Carpenters may have had a relatively short career, but their impact on music is undeniable. With Karen's unforgettable voice and Richard's genius as a composer and arranger, they created a sound that was uniquely timeless. Their music spoke to the hearts of millions, and even today, it remains a source of comfort, nostalgia, and inspiration. In the end, the Carpenters gave us more than just hits, they gave us a soundtrack to our lives. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the life and legacy of the Carpenters. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of influential figures in music and culture. Let us know your favorite Carpenters songs or albums in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep the music alive.